Hey guys, on today's episode, we're gonna be working on this brand new 760i in frozen deep gray. Now, matte paint obviously looks really incredible until you clean it improperly or polish it by mistake. Now, trust me, one big mistake like polishing it can ruin the finish forever. I'm gonna show you on the back here. Now, today, I'm not only gonna show you how to clean and protect it properly, but what happens if you don't do it properly. Make sure you watch until the end when I purposely destroy matte finish paint so we can learn how to not do this on our cars. Most people see matte paint and immediately think about cars, but this type of paint history actually goes back centuries in art and design. Sculptors, architects, and furniture makers often used matte varnishes to diffuse the light and give a softer feel and a non-reflective look. Airplanes in World War I and World War II often had matte or flat paint schemes for both camouflage and because high gloss reflective light would make you an easier target, which is obviously a bad thing, and it just weighed more on planes and tanks. Now, with respect to cars, matte finishes became all the rage in the late 50s when hot rodders would leave their cars with just a primer finish and not apply the color or the clear over it. Now, this was because most restorers would basically run out of money by the time it got to the paint booth, so they started a trend of just leaving it not shiny. Not until June 2010 did manufacturers, specifically Mercedes, came out with the Disegno Magno meaning matte, in the SLS AMG, and then BMW in their Frozen line, Audi exclusive matte, and so on, with everyone following suit because of the new demand. Matte paints are also used on some F1 race cars because it's 2 kilograms lighter than gloss paint and reduces the surface drag from the micro air turbulence compared to gloss paint. In the F1 world, that means it's just faster. So think about how much time you're gonna shave getting groceries with your matte street car. Okay, before we get into the step-by-step process of how to actually clean and protect matte finish paints, I think it's a good idea to have a visual representation of the difference between gloss and matte. Right off the bat, same type of metal, that makes sense. Same type of primer, okay. Same type of base, which I wasn't really sure about that. And I was like, oh yeah, that's interesting. So if it's green, yellow, black, like the one behind it, it's exactly the same gloss to matte. The difference, of course, is in the clear coat. Now, the first thing to recognize is it does in fact, meaning matte paint, does in fact have clear coat on it, and it's equally protected. The difference is the type of clear coat and how long it takes to dry out to finish. That's gonna give you the different types of matte finishes, whether it's eggshell, satin, semi-gloss, et cetera, is based on how much time you allow that particular type of clear coat to settle in so you can get those sort of dimples in the top that capture the light. So the moral of the story is you're pretty close to gloss. It's just the difference in the top layer, the clear coat, although it is in fact clear coat, it's a different type of clear coat that is really subject to how long it takes to dry to then give you the finish that you're looking for, like the one behind us. Now, the second thing to understand, and probably the most troubling from somebody who owns a matte finish paint job, is understanding how to remove scratches. So we have gloss and matte. When you have a scratch on gloss paint, I can sort of come in here and do this with the polisher, right? So if this is the scratch, I can kind of smooth that over, and yeah, it may be a little bit less deep than the rest of it, but visually to the eye, you kind of can't see that. It just looks, okay, I took the scratch out and everything is fine. When you come to matte finish paints, when you have a scratch like this one here, if I were to come in and just sort of remove this horrible scratch, right, I can only go like that. So now we have a shiny spot in the middle of our beautiful matte paint. I can't polish dimples into the paint. So that's where this all sort of comes to a head when you realize, oh my gosh, I really have to be very conscious and careful about how to maintain or do anything on matte finish paint. I'm gonna show you in the back there, they were replacing a badge and they put a light little scratch in it, and that's it. I can't polish it out. So that's really what's going on and why matte finish paints, although pretty similar, if you can see 1, 2, 3, very similar, just for the, instead of the top area, that's where it obviously is different. They're basically the same as gloss finish paints, but you don't get much resiliency in terms of, if I get a scratch here, I can just polish it out in 2 seconds. Nobody will know the difference. You get a scratch here, you're facing a different battle. With all that in mind, let's get our tools ready for step number 1, which is to safely remove dirt from the surface of a non-gloss paint. Now, a quick tip before you do any wash, especially matte finish, is to make sure that your buckets, your tools, your equipment are very clean. Although it looks clean right now, if I were to go in and wipe it with this towel, yeah, you can see immediately there's still some dirt in there. You do not want that contamination to then get on the towel that you're using to wash matte finish paint and then cause a scratch. So everything you can do to minimize cross-contamination is key, especially in matte finish paints. Step 1, lubrication is key. Dry wiping or wiping without water, soap, or spray wax is a major no-no. Think of the dirt like little rocks on your car. The reason why is because it kind of is. If you roll them over your paint, you're going to scratch it in the process. If you scratch it, you've pretty much ruined matte finish paint. That includes using dirty tools from the start, so keep that in mind. If possible, first pre-soak your car with ammo foam in a foam cannon from a power washer or a garden hose. Now you're going to use approximately 2 to 3 ounces of foam soap with about 30 ounces of water in the reservoir. If you're not into measuring, just coat the bottom of the reservoir slightly and then fill it up with water slowly so it doesn't foam out. Again, I'll put links in the descriptions for all the items, but they're relatively inexpensive and they last a very long time. Very much well worth it, especially in matte finish paints. Now, if you don't have a foamer, that's also okay. Then just rinse really, really well and skip to the next step, which is the towel and bucket method, which I'll explain in a second. Anyways, with the foam on the paint, let it sit for a few minutes until you see it starting to carry that loose dirt away. If you're indoors or out of direct sunlight like I am here, I like to clean the wheels next while that's actually happening because I like to give it about 5-6 minutes or so. It gives me enough time to get around the car and work on the wheels. Now, with respect to the wheels, I use Plum wheel cleaner, a wheel woolly, or a wheel lug nut brush, along with Brute wheel soap in a bucket. Now, that soap is specifically designed to help remove old brake dust. So work on the wheels while everything is sort of just carrying all that dirt away right now. Right about the time you're done with your fourth wheel, power wash or hose off the rest of the paint so it doesn't dry, both the wheels and the paint, so you're gonna have to move a little bit quickly here. Next, add 2 to 3 squirts of foam soap to a clean bucket and 2 to 3 blue microfiber wash towels to gently agitate the embedded dirt that might need a little bit more motivation to be removed than that initial pre-wash you just performed a few minutes ago. Now, before you do that, just take a quick look at the car. If you see tar or grease, especially behind the front or rear wheels, use Titan 12 degreaser or a 50-50 ISO mixture first to loosen up that blemish. Again, for matte paint, you're really relying more on chemical cleaning versus mechanical or rubbing or abrasive cleaning, so keep all that in mind. With the paint now foamed again, pull the wash towel out of the soapy bucket and wipe the paint. To be very clear, this type of wiping is very gentle. You're not scrubbing your clothes in a river on a washboard type of thing. You're barely touching the surface. Work top to bottom and then rotate the towel as it becomes dirty. Quick side note, if you have a coating on matte paint, it's going to make your life 10 times easier in the future. You're likely going to get about 90% of that dirt with your initial pre-soak and power wash and not necessarily have to agitate it and potentially scratch it. So putting a coating on matte finishes is critical. Once you feel everything has been washed and agitated safely, then rinse a final time. Now, traditionally, when we talk about washing a car safely, we talk about a thing called the 2-bucket or even the 3-bucket method. And the way that was in the past was you'd have your wash mitt like this one, 2-sided wash mitt. Now, inside this bucket, we full of soap. You go wash the car. Oh my gosh, it's all dirty. Then I'd go in a fresh, clean water, no soap bucket. I'd slosh it back and forth, wring it out with my hand, and in theory, all those contaminants would go in the bottom of this only water bucket, only soap bucket. You go back in your only soap, go in, wash the car, repeat, repeat, repeat. So that was the philosophy years ago, and I preached it myself. Now, the idea was that once you cleaned the wash mitt, it would in fact be clean. But in reality, you didn't get all the junk off of it. And we didn't really kind of know that back then. The new philosophy now is to go from the 2-bucket or the 3-bucket and really minimize that and just use 1 bucket. Now, the 1 bucket is going to be filled with about halfway water, put some soap in there, of course, and you're going to put 2 or 3 towels. This is a brand new one. This one is one that came out of the washing machine, but this is a very plush wash towel. So you put multiple towels in there. When you go to wash, you pull the towel out, you fold it into 4s, and you wipe it down. Now, based on how dirty that car is, you may get one side maybe 2 or 3 panels, or maybe you get half the whole car, depending on if it's not that dirty. But in theory, as that towel becomes dirty, you refold the towel into another side, which you'll get 8 out of one towel. You can pretty much, let's say, get half the car with one towel. The idea is once that becomes soiled and you're looking at it and go, oh, that's dirty, you're not gonna redunk it. You're just gonna take it once it's dirty and put it in the slop sink or put it somewhere else in the washing machine, then pull out the next fresh one. Why? If you're not introducing any dirt back into the bucket, it is very unlikely that you're gonna have cross-contamination and thus scratch the paint on gloss or matte paint. With respect to matte paint, you must use this method because if you get a scratch like we talked about, it's nearly impossible to get out. So this is something to keep in mind from the 2-bucket and the 3-bucket method, which was great back then. But now this idea of just not even introducing any contamination back in with that redunking, you can minimize the chance of scratching your paint. To dry the paint, use a hot air blower, compressed air, and a damp microfiber towel with a drying lubricant. Much the same idea as adding lubrication to the wash process with foam soap, you also have to add lubrication and protection to the drying process with hydrate. You're going to see the hydration streaks as you wipe. This is a lubricant that will go away via evaporation or if you just wipe a second time. After removing the majority of the water with a towel and never with a chamois or a squeegee ever, keep that in mind, you do not use a squeegee, especially on any cars, no less matte. Then go back and use compressed air for all the tight spots like the mirrors or the lights, etc. Okay, now that the matte finish has been safely cleaned and dried, to protect it, you sort of have 3 main options. The first one, of course, is just to put PPF on the entire thing. Very expensive, a little bit time consuming, but incredibly effective. That's what I have on my Cayenne, especially if you're gonna change it from a gloss to a matte finish. In this case, it would be a matte finish to a matte finish. So that's kind of one, but not very realistic for most people because of the expense and the time. Number 2 is synthetic paste wax like this one here. This is Conceal, designed specifically for PPF and for matte finishes. Very easy on, very easy off. Gives you about 10 to 12 months worth of protection. And the last one, of course, is coatings, wildly popular. And the reason why they're so popular is they last anywhere from a year or 2 or more, depending on which one. Very easy on, maybe not as easy as synthetic wax, but it does give you long-term protection. In this particular case, this customer wants Reflex Pro 2 on there, so I'll show you the step-by-step process for doing that. Very easy to do. To apply Reflex Pro 2, add 5 to 10 drops to a microfiber applicator pad and work 1 panel at a time. Your goal is to add a thick coating to one particular panel, so you're going to use a little bit more coating than you think you might need. Allow it to cure for about 1 to 2 minutes. You're going to see it flash. In this particular case, it'll turn to a rainbow-ish. When you see that, it's now time to remove it. Some rainbow and others sweat, which means it has little beads that pop up. It depends on the coating. So in your case, remove with a clean, dry microfiber towel, and then repeat that same process 1 panel at a time all the way around the car. But make sure to keep in mind that that 1 bottle typically coats about 1 sedan or 1 Suburban. So if you have a smaller car, you might have maybe about a quarter of the bottle left, but the idea is to use an entire bottle on 1 car. Once you're done with the application process, pull the car outside and use a light and change the eye line to catch the high spots or the missed areas. I like getting down low and looking up. I like moving the car around. I like moving my body around. It happens 100% of the time to absolutely every single detailer in the world. You will miss a spot. That's just part of the process. Go in and lightly wipe it off. But the idea is to not let it sit for multiple hours and then do it because it'll become hard at that point. So once you're done applying it, immediately pull it outside or change the angle even if you are indoors to find those high spots. Okay, that is how you properly clean and protect matte finish paints. As you can see, it's still matte. It looks absolutely fantastic, but at the same time, it's still protected. Now, 2 quick things before we go. One, in terms of the maintenance regimen, now that you have a coating on the car, I still encourage you to wash it properly. Focus on not having contamination, not really pushing hard, very light, pre-soak. Do all that to add as much lubrication as possible before you wipe it down. The second thing is, I do encourage you to put synthetic wax on top of it. When? Every couple of months when you're having a good time in the garage, etc., and you're just looking for some extra pop, you want to reinvigorate that coating, this is a really smart thing to do on top of it. Now, in the beginning of the episode, I mentioned what happens when you scratch paint. What do you do by polishing? What's the result of polishing? I'm not going to do it on this brand new car, but I do have a scrap panel. I want to scratch that, show you it, and then actually polish it out to see what happens. Why? You're going to have a better understanding and a better appreciation for avoiding scratches at all costs on matte finish paints. Okay, so here's our scrap panel. You can see it's off of a Lamborghini, 10 points by the way. For anyone who knows what Lamborghini model this is, leave a comment down below. But when it came in from J&B Body Works, big thank you to them, it had a clear bra on it, which is to my previous point. If you're gonna have a car that has matte finish paint and it's relatively expensive, 100,000 or more, I'm just using a round number, it is a good idea to put matte finish PPF on it because of how difficult it is to remove a scratch. Now with that in mind, we are going to install a scratch on what I consider a cadaver piece here, this bumper. What I'm gonna do is start from this area, like right to the side of the emblem, and we're gonna go a light scratch, and then I'm gonna go deeper, 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 deeper until I go like all the way through. And the idea here is when I go in to polish it, I want to see if maybe I can get this section out, but maybe not this one or not that one, that kind of thing. I have no idea, so we're going to learn on camera. The reason why I don't have any idea is because we really go far out of our way not to scratch matte paint, and because in theory, you can't polish it out, but we're going to find out right now. Now, as I mentioned, I'm sort of learning on the fly with you right now because I don't have a ton of opportunities to ruin basically matte paint. Now, the first thing that I'm learning is after I did the screwdriver test, you can see that this is very flexible, very pliable. So in other words, it's plastic versus metal. So right off the bat, the substrate is a big deal. What I mean by that is when I'm pushing down with the screwdriver, it's giving with me. It's absorbing the pressure of the tip of the screwdriver, which is interesting because it's not scratching as much as I thought. It's more like denting it in terms of the paint denting, not the plastic denting. So that's the first thing that I noticed, like, wow, this is a lot more resilient than I thought it would be. Then I went over to Steve's and I got a wire brush. Now the wire brush, which is interesting, I was really putting some downward pressure on it. And if this, again, was clear coat or a non-matte finish, I would have destroyed it. It would have looked really bad. In this case, it doesn't look that bad. It's kind of like a 6-footer, I call it. It's like, you know, you can kind of see it from 6 feet away. As you get closer, you might be able to see it. Very interesting. So now we're going to polish this out, and now all of my theories are kind of out the window. I think because of the substrate underneath is plastic and absorbing a lot of the damage. But over here, you can see I went right straight through, so that's not going to come out. But I'm very curious to see what's going to happen when we polish it. So let's go into polishing and find out what happens next. Boy, that is absolutely creepy to do. That is everything I was taught. Oh my goodness, look at that immediately. That's so fascinating. Oh, that is so interesting. Okay, so I'm behind the camera now. I just did a very, very light wool polishing pad on a 3-inch pneumatic. Now, oh, this is so fascinating. So as I polish this out, you can see very much it became shiny. But what also happened is the scratches that I couldn't see before. Can you see that right there? Let me see if I can. You see the scratches? The scratches are even way more evident than they were 5 seconds ago. So me polishing this to take out those scratches actually did the opposite effect. Oh yeah, look at that. That is incredible. So here are the results after just a few passes with a 3-inch pneumatic. And the reason I want to make a big deal about the 3-inch is if I had the 6-inch, I'd be doing a whole lot more work. So the fact that just the 3-inch did this after only a few passes is incredible. So if that's not the smoking gun, there's just no way that you can polish to remove those scratches. And you can see they're still in there. And that's mostly because it's like an impact. It's more, see how flexible this is? So that's what's really going on. And can you hear it? You can hear my fingernail. So that's just way too deep. But what's interesting is now this polish, the area that I polished, and that was just with compound, you can see that it's pretty glossy, but underneath there's still like a ton of orange peel, which I think is also fascinating. So even if I polish this out, you see that orange peel? Ooh, see if we can focus again. That orange right there. See that orange peel again? So here's the matte, and here's it after one quick polish, and the orange peel. So the bottom line is, yeah, you definitely don't want to polish matte finish paint. I didn't think it was gonna happen that fast. And then this over here, those scratches only really kind of came out once you polished it. So if you have scratches on matte paint, you should probably just leave it, obviously, because you don't want to do this, but I'm just making the point that the scratches just blended all the way and looked fine, or not, so, you know, not perfect, but they look way worse now that I polished them. See them in there? All right, so what we're gonna do now, that was really fascinating, is I'm going to take probably 500, then 800, maybe 1500, then 2000. I'm gonna play with sandpaper and I'm gonna finish polishing this out. Then I'm gonna try to make this perfectly show car flat, which means I have to take the orange peel out of it. We're just having fun now. I am a little bit at a loss for words because I'm just trying to absorb this at the same time, and I figure why not just have the camera go so we can learn this together. But man, the bottom line is do not compound matte finish paint. Yikes. Now check this out. This was the original matte. This is the area that I polished and it became very shiny. Then I just went back in with 1500 and sanded it back out. So now these are the sanding marks. That's the original paint. Is it perfect? No, but it's certainly way better than it being shiny. So what I'm learning is, much like we talked about in the beginning of the episode with the hot rodders, this is how they would leave it. So this is from the factory and it has clear on it and it's certainly much more uniform and it's coming out of a gun. And this is just sitting in your garage and sanding a car and not polishing it out. And it's pretty close. I mean, it's not perfect, but it's certainly, if you were driving by, you'd be like, oh, look, a matte finish paint job. So I guess you could, if you really took your time, you could create your matte finish just by leaving it unpolished like the hot rodders did. Very, very cool. Now let's complete the process. I'm breaking out the big guns, the 6-inch, going in with the wool pad. Now let's see how shiny we can get this part. See after pass one. Oh, I can't believe that worked. So you can do it. Oh, it's exciting. So here's what we've learned so far. You cannot polish with a machine matte finish paint and think that it's going to be matte afterwards. You can see here, this is the test area. We clearly made it very, very shiny. The second thing we learned is when you actually remove all of the matte finish underneath, what you're going to see is shiny, of course, but it's going to be very orange peely, which is really interesting to me. And the reason why that happens is if you've seen in all the videos when I go to J&B and they paint the cars, etc., that comes back out and then a whole crew of people sand it down, then it goes back in, it gets painted, sands it down. So there's no sanding that happens in between this process. So you can see it. It was evident once I took the matte finish top coat basically off. Underneath, there was orange peel absolutely everywhere. So the third thing I learned is if you want to get that orange peel off, you have to just go through your normal process as you would on clear coat and sand it down, etc. And you can see there's very little orange peel here. It looks absolutely fantastic. The fourth thing we learned is the substrate itself. You can still see that there's scratches in here. Hopefully the camera is picking up. There's still scratches in here. It is much better, but I think it's going to be even more exacerbated. It's going to be even worse if it's on metal that doesn't just absorb the pressure of the screwdriver. Now, the other thing that I find very interesting here is that when you look at this, you can see that matte over here and it's glossy over here. If you did get in a situation where you accidentally took a little bit off, maybe you were rubbing too much, you could go in and basically reinstall sanding marks and kind of put like a Band-Aid on it. Because you noticed when I went in with 1500 with the big palm sander, it was pretty close. Was it perfect? No, it wasn't perfect at all, but it was definitely not as violent of a shift as from here to here. So kind of keep that in mind if you make a mistake. The last thing I want to do is, I'm having so much fun here, is I want to show how many wipes that a normal person, when I say a normal person, I mean, you're not going to get out of your car and just have a tool and start polishing. I get that, but a lot of times what happens is a bird poos on matte finish paint and they go like this with their finger and they keep rubbing. How many rubs does it take to actually take the matte finish off or just cause a little bit of a blemish? What I'm going to do is take a microfiber towel, put a very light polish on there and go and just count how many finger wipes it takes to actually ruin matte finish paint, to thus prove it is just incredibly sensitive. So we have to go through all the steps we just talked about to wash it and maintain it carefully so that you can keep this kind of cool, unique look. Here we go. I'm going to use this little arbitrary area here. You can see that it's perfectly fine. It's normal. It hasn't been touched. And I'm also going to put a little bit of polish on a towel, which is what somebody might normally do if they weren't aware of the matte situation. So I'm going to put that here, like that. And now I'm going to count.
1, 2, medium pressure, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Okay.
20 at the same amount. Again, I'm not a machine, but pretty close. And can you see that right there? Clearly causing an issue there. We're gonna stop at 15 and see if 15 is the magic number.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15.
Absolutely, same exact issue. Okay, let's do it again.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Yeah, there's actually no difference. Okay, let's go to 5. It's definitely less. Wow, that's so fascinating. That's definitely less, but it's certainly there. Let's see if we go 2. 2 swipes, that would be insanity.
1, 2.
Let's get some ISO on that bad boy. Just to make sure that there's nothing being shiny because of the polish itself. So let's clean that all up. No matter what you do, you are making that very shiny just by touching and cutting off those edges. So don't touch your paint. So there you go. The takeaway is pretty clear. Take extra precaution with your matte finish paint to avoid having to go to a body shop for a repair, because clearly you just can't compound it out. Now, if you found this video helpful or have other ideas on deep dive, clean, and protect videos that you'd like to see, send me an email at larry@ammonyc.com or visit my website, ammonyc.com, to find all the products and tools we used in this episode. As always, guys, thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.